Hey there, this is a video about W. W is a 2D cross-platform game development library currently in development whose aim is to simplify cross-platform 2D game development and to be tiny, simple and fast. It's written in C++ and currently supports Windows, iOS and the Mac. In this video we're going to see how to set up an Xcode project for cross-platform development on iOS and the Mac. So we're going to create a very simple cross-platform project based on W. It's going to run on iOS and the Mac, and it's not really going to do anything. It's just to show you how to set up a project, basically. So first we need to download W, so go to ben.am/w and go to downloads and download the latest version. And you'll get a zip archive like this. In there you'll have directories called include, which contains W's headers, and library directories for iOS, the Mac and Windows. The iOS version has 3 different libraries. They're all the same, they're just compiled for different architectures. This is for the iPhone and iPad themselves, compiled for ARM, and this is for the simulator, compiled for x86. And this is a version which contains both for development purposes. So let's create a new project. So we start by creating a Cocoa application. We'll call it W test, and make sure that Arc is selected, and click next, and we'll create that on the desktop. Then we want to add a new target, so go to File, New Target, and select iOS application, Empty Application. We'll call that W test iOS. So first things first, we have to change each AppDelegate implementation file to compile as Objective-C++, like so. Then on the Mac, we have this MainMenu.xib file. We need to remove the window object, which this has by default. W creates its own window, so it's not required. Then we need to add the include directory, W's include directory, to the header search paths for both targets. So select the project and select each target in turn and search for header and header search paths, and you can just drag in the include directory like so, and do the same for iOS, header search paths, include. So we can now write include w.h. Then we have to add libraries. The Mac version requires OpenGL, so add the default OpenGL framework and W. So we can just drag that on. The iOS version requires OpenGL-ES and Quartz Core, and we'll add W. And that's us basically set up. Typically what you do to organize the project is create a new group for shared classes. Everything you write that inherits from W is typically cross-platform, so this contains classes that are shared between the Mac and iOS projects. So I'll write a quick, completely empty GameState to go in here. It'll be called MyState. Add to both targets and click Create. So here we want to include W, and then create a custom GameState class. So that's going to be called MyState. Inherits publicly from GameState. There are 2 mandatory overloads for a GameState class. The first is resume, which takes a returnee. We're not going to do anything with that. And the next is update, which takes nothing. And we're not going to do anything with that either. That, believe it or not, is a working GameState class. It doesn't do anything, but it is there. Then, so in AppDelegate, we can just write include mystate.h, and then first of all we create the window. And then we push a new state onto the stack, and then we just call start. Then if we build and run that, that should work. The iOS application did finish launching method does the exact same thing, except that create window doesn't take any parameters because the size of the window is derived from the screen, and obviously there's no window title. I've made a mistake here. Yes, please. And there we have it. A completely empty cross-platform app, or it will be cross-platform when you write the AppDelegate implementation for iOS, running on W.